Vita Vea, is he going to play this year for the Buccaneers? Are they going to trade him? What have you heard? What's the latest when it comes to talks between a guy that wants at least a pay raise, if not a contract extension?
Yeah, this one's not trending the right way, I think, to be honest with you. Just in the conversations that you have with his representatives and watching the body language, I don't think Vita has any intentions of playing under his current contract. Now, I've been asking myself, isn't there a way out, right? You got to give the player a chance, to have his way back. And maybe the solution is that you just bump him up a little bit this year. He's at $17-something million, get him in that 20-something range. Maybe he's a top 10 highest paid defensive tackle, and perhaps that could do it. But there doesn't seem to be really any inclination on either side, at least on the Bucs side, to do that. And I think at this point, the longer this goes, it's not going to end well, maybe for the Bucs or for Vita. I mean, obviously the Bucs have the hammer. They can just not trade him, and eventually he's going to be losing $17 million at some point. They went ahead with the, he's got the contract itis or the tweak in his back, whatever you want to call that. But this team is getting on a plane and headed up to New York on Monday. Yeah. I don't imagine Vita Vea is going to be with them. So, now you're through the first preseason game. I'm not confident, and I don't think that the agent is confident. They seem to be at a real impasse here, and it might result in a trade as we get closer to the start of the season. I just don't have a great feeling about these two guys getting together, the team and Vita getting together.
Yeah, there's really no progress right now. I mean, the Bucs don't want to give him a contract, and Vea doesn't want to play under his current contract. So the impasse is right. And then now the question is, when and how do things come to a head? Right now, they kind of have that back injury to cover things, to explain for why he's not back to things. But I do think no matter what time here, that's one of those where you're going to have to figure out a way to either get him on the field, or then you raise the stakes by starting to fine him. I think they'll go to those things before they go to a trade. They don't want to trade him.
Yeah, in terms of this, because the Buccaneers don't want to trade him. He's such a vital member of this defense for Todd Bowles, and Jason and I drafted the guy. I think they would love for him to just play out the deal. It seems to me that if the team is entrenched in not looking to trade him, and Vita Vea doesn't want to play under this current deal, maybe the middle ground is we're going to give you a pay bump this year, and maybe even like a 1-year extension. Maybe if push comes to shove, that happens. I don't think Vita Vea wants that.
No,
but at the same time, he doesn't have a lot of cards to play. He's 31 years old. If he holds out this year, he's right back in the same boat next year at age 32, and that doesn't help his cause. And the other thing, too, is this year's Buccaneer team is exceptionally deep at defensive tackle, especially nose tackle. The guys here, these are the lower-level guys. They've got Jason Jones. They've got Elijah Simmons, and that's not including DeMonte Capehart. That's not including a couple of the other players such as Ashawn Robinson and Raheem Nunez-Roches.
Yeah, you think about the depth of the team. None of those guys are Vita Vea is the problem. They're all complementary people that have size that can get in there and help out. Vita Vea, you're talking about a guy that played 700 snaps last year. So to lose him is to lose your most prominent, most on the field as often as possible defensive lineman. Collectively, you could put 2 or 3 guys into the position to take what he did. I don't think it would have the same effect, and I think the Bucs would be in a rough spot as a result.
Yeah, we just lost Rick there for a second. Yeah, Greg, I mean, when you look at this group of defensive linemen, and certainly we can't make a whole bunch of hay over just the first padded practice. We'll see him again later tonight. But when you look at what this defensive line has done over the 2 practices, the one in shells the other day, then the one in full pads, they're pretty dominant. I mean, there was not a lot of running room at all. Now, granted, this offensive line is missing Tristan Wirfs, but it still has Ben Bredesen. It still has Graham Barton, Cody Mauch, Luke Gedeke. It's got some heavy hitters up front. But this defensive line combined with the linebackers, it was just incredibly tough for them to to find any running room, and you don't want to not play without Vita Vea. I'm not suggesting that the Bucs are better without Vita Vea, but if there's a time when you could get by in the first 6 games of the season, if Vita Vea truly wants to hold out and then return to action to accrue that year and then move on from the team in free agency next year, this roster is probably better equipped for that happening now than it ever has.
Right. I mean, I think they overstacked the defensive line. I don't think they were anticipating this. They lost Greg Gaines. Okay. They lost, you think about losing Logan Hall from last year. That's 2 guys they lost. Replace them not only with A'Shawn Robinson, not only with Raheem Nunez-Roches. You have a healthy Kalijah Kancey you add to that mix. You have Devontae Capehart as a 5th-round draft pick. And then you have these young guys that are kind of the wild cards in this, in Elijah Simmons, who they picked up last year, and Jason Jones. Jason Jones is massive. I mean, he's bigger than Vea in terms of his size, his height. Just doesn't have the experience of playing in the NFL. So you have a couple of guys that essentially are projects that are bubble roster players. They would need one of those guys to step up and be ready to play at least at a rotational level. I don't know if they know what they have in those guys right now. I think the fact that they've kept Simmons and Jones and these other, I mean, honestly, they're younger guys, they're undrafted rookies that are in the mix too. It's just for them to knowingly take the core of this defensive front in Vita Vea and actively remove him from that defense, even if they got a defensive tackle in return, even if the team that took on Vita Vea gave them another nose back, a body that would help them now as opposed to a draft pick, it's still not something I think the Bucs would choose unless they felt that was the only option.
Yeah, I agree. When you look at Baker Mayfield, there really wasn't a whole bunch of news coming out. I think more of the news is the fact that it really appears to be a stalemate between Vita Vea and the team. But Baker Mayfield, we just heard literally moments ago in Zach Robinson's press conference, he has been all ball. This has not been a distraction, at least from Zach Robinson's standpoint. He's focused and locked in on the task at hand, and he had nothing but praise about Baker Mayfield and his ability to kind of compartmentalize this and focus on football.
Yeah, it's strange in that you have 2 situations right now. They're both 31. They're both in the final year of their contracts. Obviously, they both want new deals beyond this. But the posture, the way they're approaching this is completely different in that Baker is still very front-facing, still talking to the media, still at practice as if nothing has changed, had his family out at the family day. He's there, kind of the main attraction, one of the main attractions at the autograph session they had tonight before this night practice. And by comparison, Vita Vea isn't any of those things right now. I mean, he's an attendant at practice, but he's not doing anything. Whether or not the back is the reason for that, I guess remains to be seen. There's 90 guys out of a 91-man roster that are listed as autographing tonight at this fan session, and Vita's the one that isn't. It's probably easier. You don't know what fans are going to say to him right now. But I will say the biggest difference between those two right now is that Baker is very much carrying on like nothing has changed. And he kind of said that would be the case. Vita Vea, by comparison, again, is not there, is threatening to probably be there less than he is right now.